Welcome everyone again, and thank you so much for attending GreenPath Financial Wellness webinar, Emotionally Healthy Spending. GreenPath is a trusted national nonprofit housing and financial credit counseling agency with the mission of empowering people to lead financially healthy lives. We started as the budgeting service of the Michigan Credit Union League in 1961 and grew into a nationwide financial wellness organization. We counsel in all 50 states and Puerto Rico, and we believe that financial wellness education is something that we should all continue to engage with, regardless of how much we already know. There's always something we can learn to help maintain or improve our financial wellness, and today we want to talk about the topic, emotionally healthy spending. I am joined by my colleague, Tiff Potts. Tiffany, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany. I am a bilingual client success manager here at GreenPath. Been with the company for 3 years. Started as a client success specialist, manages the DMP, and then did some sub work with another department internally here, and then quickly moved into the manager role. Really enjoy working here at GreenPath, and I'm excited to be here today with you guys.
Thanks so much, Tiff. My name is JJ, or Jessica Jennings. You can call me anything as long as you don't call me late for dinner. And I have been with GreenPath now for 5 years. So I started in 2020 as one of our client advocates, so the first person that you speak to when you call into GreenPath. From there, I spent a little bit of time with our client success department, working with our clients on active debt management plans. And for the past 3 years, I have been in our partner experience department, and I'm really happy to be here. But you didn't come here to hear about our careers. You came here to talk about emotionally healthy spending. And trust us, Tiffany and I have both had some ups and downs in our financial journey. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Tiffany so she can tell you about her financial wellness journey. Take it away, Tiff.
Thanks, AJ. Yeah, so I started in 2018, decided that I wanted to become debt-free and started the long road of looking at all the debts that I owed, to pay those off. Eventually wanted to be able to have financial freedom, have a house, not have to worry about when I go on vacations, that following me when I came back. So I started the journey. I listed my debts smallest to largest and chipped away little by little. And then in 2022, got married to my wonderful husband. Still had a little bit of debt to chip away on my own. And, together as a unit, we went ahead and finished paying off all those debts. And then we started saving so we could buy a house. And I can confidently say we are debt free, and it's been awesome. So I'm really excited to be here, and I'm excited to be able to help our clients being able to achieve those same goals.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. So I myself am no stranger to the whole blood, sweat, and tears of financial wellness as it is. So back in 2023, my husband and I set out to buy our first home. That's actually where I'm talking to you from right now, but it was definitely a bit of a perilous journey to get there. So we were saving super diligently, and we were going to see all of these houses and falling in love and then getting our hopes dashed when we were absolutely outbid to an amount that no way would we have been able to do. And then we finally got our house, and we were so excited. I mean, over the moon elated. Then in October, the kitchen flooded. So we were about to have our big Halloween party that we have every year, and suddenly there's a lot of water on the kitchen floor. So we call in the emergency plumber. We were without a kitchen for 3 months, and trust me, there is only so much you can take of living without a kitchen for a few months, especially if you're someone who likes to cook. And then we thought we had fixed that, and then the water stopped working. And then we had to bring the emergency plumber back in. So I do want to let you know there is always ups and downs to everyone's financial journey. And I will say, if you want to, what about Washington, D.C.? Yeah. So there's always going to be ups and downs in your financial journey. And we have talked through the whole run of it with our clients. So if you want to hear more of what it can be like to call into GreenPath, you can actually check out our Real Stories podcast. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link into the chat here where you can find that podcast along with tons of other webinars, recordings, all sorts of things. I highly recommend you check out the Real Stories podcast. It has stories just like mine and Tiffany's, how they overcame it and how GreenPath helped. So please feel free to either scan that QR code or go ahead and go to that my.greenpath.com and check out our Real Stories podcast. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking a lot about those emotions throughout a financial wellness journey. So we're going to start by talking about some of the healthy financial habits you can take to really set yourself up for success along your journey. We'll talk about ways that you can reduce your financial stress. And we're going to get into having some of those tough conversations around money. Tiffany, did you have tough conversations on your financial journey?
Yeah.
You and me
Plenty.
both. And then we'll finish out by talking about some of the resources available to you to improve your money relationship. So, we like to think of financial health as being really similar to your physical health. So, Tiffany's going to walk you through how your finances, it's just like going to the doctor.
Yeah, thanks, JJ. Pretty much the same. So when you go to the doctor, the first thing that they're looking at is assessing what are your symptoms. You have to take a check at what are you dealing with? Why are you at the doctor's? Then the next thing they do is the checkup. So they run diagnostics, they run all the tests to see where your health is at, just to kind of get a gauge of where we're at. And then finally, you'll be able to get the official diagnosis and whether that's going to be treated with medication or if it's just a change in lifestyle. So I like to think of it the same way. We want to do a checkup of what our finances look like. Then we need to learn about how we're going to build those financial habits and then what we could do to make the situation better.
Absolutely. And before we continue forward, I think it's important that we're all on the same page of what does it mean to be financially well? So here at GreenPath, we like to use the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's definition of financial wellness, and it's made up of 4 components. So the first of those is having control over your day-to-day and month-to-month finances. That really means knowing what your income is, knowing what those expenses are, and being able to create wiggle room as necessary. The second component is having the capacity to absorb a financial shock. So maybe, like in my case, your financial shock was your kitchen flooding. Or maybe it's a pet eating something they shouldn't and needing to go to the emergency vet. I've had plenty of experience with that as well. But that is a component of financial wellness. Financial wellness is also being on track to meeting your financial goals. And this looks so different person to person, right? It can be, maybe you're looking to buy that house. Maybe you're looking to set yourself up for retirement. It really looks different person to person. And then the last component of financial wellness, probably my favorite, having the financial freedom to make choices to allow you to enjoy your life. And this is a huge part of it. So that is what we mean when we are talking about moving toward financial wellness. And if you aren't able to say yes to all 4 of these components just yet, that is okay. GreenPath is here to help. So let's talk about some of the things you can do to move yourself towards that place of financial wellness. And that all starts with building financially healthy habits. So there's a couple foundations that we strongly recommend here at GreenPath. The first of those, and this is just as basic as brushing your teeth, is tracking your expenses, really seeing kind of where you're sitting financially and what that means. Then kind of take that emotional temperature because yes, we often think of finances as kind of this cold thing that does not touch our emotional state at all. But the fact is, finances are closely tied to your emotions. So take a look. How is this affecting you? And from there, we make the plan and we budget. And I know this might sound like a scary word, but don't worry. We're here for you. We've got stuff to help. So let's talk a little bit about it. Let's talk about tracking those expenses. So you don't have to go all out just yet. You can start really simple with just 10 days of tracking where your money is going. So some things that might be helpful for you during this is to grab some of your statements. That might be your bank statements or your credit card statements, really anywhere that's going to show you where you have spent money recently. And we are going to send out with the email with our recording, we will be sending out an expense tracker as well. So then you're going to want to look for trends. Tiffany, what are some trends that you noticed when you were tracking your expenses?
That we like to eat out a lot.
So yeah, you might be spending more at certain points of the week, or maybe you notice that it's after hard days at work are the times that you go through that drive-through and get that little sweet treat at the end of the day. Or maybe there's recurring expenses. Most of us do have these. Those tend to be your gas money, your utilities bills, things of that nature. And then once you've got that, remember, there are resources for you. So we have an expense tracker, and also GreenPath is here to help. So once you've tracked, it's time to take some emotional temperature. So this is really where it gets a little bit tricky. So there's a lot of common emotions that tend to come up in relation to finances. Specifically, these are the top 4 tough things that come up. The first one is going to be that anxiety, right? You might notice your heart rate's going a bit faster. There's some of that shortened breath. Maybe your muscles are feeling really tense all the time. I'm a big jaw clencher. That's always one that I have to remind myself to unclench my jaw and bring my shoulders down. You might also be noticing stress coming up, and this can really affect your sleep, your appetite. Maybe you're getting a lot of headaches. Another one too that a lot of people don't always recognize is getting into a freeze response. So feeling really numb or disconnected or unable to take action. And then the last one, maybe you try to course correct so hard that you go completely in the opposite direction and you over restrict. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put a poll here into the chat. So please go ahead and answer that. What tough emotional responses have you noticed in yourself due to finances? And it might actually be something where your financial partner recognizes this before you. Oh, this is so interesting to see these come in. I'm seeing that a lot of people are ticking all 4 responses. So Tiffany's going to take us through a little bit more of what each of these responses can do to us and what it means for us when it comes to our finances. So Tiffany, take it away on spending and anxiety.
Absolutely. So the first one we have is the spending and anxiety. Money is a top source of anxiety here in the US. Financial anxiety about not having enough money often stems from uncertainty, lack of control, fear of the future, just the unknown, the fear of the unknown. Financial anxiety is not about necessarily not having enough money. Often it's just, again, the fear of the unknown, the lack of control, and not knowing what we're going to do for our future. The Bankrate 2024 did a poll, and 47% of US adults say money have a negative impact on their mental health. According to CreditWise by Capital One in 2022, they stated that 68% of millennials say money causes them anxiety. And finally, financial stress is a top cause of anxiety, often manifesting in sleep disturbances, irritability, and fatigue. I know that was a couple years ago. It's probably definitely more in today and age. It definitely feel like it's more of a higher percentage.
Absolutely. And we have a comment in the chat. I spend when I'm upset, which causes anxiety and stress, and it turns into a roller coaster. You are not alone. That is a really common response. So something else too, we mentioned anxiety and stress. Let's talk about stress. So Tiff, what did you find about stress and money?
Oh goodness, so stress is another top. It's like chronic financial stress activates the body's stress response system. Kind of what JJ said earlier, that claw clenching, the decision making, and it leads to unhealthy coping behaviors. 87% of adults are stressed about rising prices. And again, this is from 2022, so I know it's definitely more in today's age. And then 65% saying money is a significant source of stress. 57% of people said that they've often stressed about saving enough for emergencies. I know that was a big one for me. Stress is related to finances is also associated with higher rates of physical ailments and chronic. So if one day you hurt yourself at the job or get a random diagnosis, that's definitely a bigger stressor because it's not something you could really control and it's something that you would want to address. So definitely adds to stress. And then lastly, we have the money and the freeze response. When we avoid instead of address, and I see someone here about spending from anxiety of FOMO. That's what I think the freeze response is you don't want to really pay attention to what you're going through financially and you just go along and I'm just going to, go ahead and spend. I'm not paying attention to what my finances really look like actually. But we want to let you know that, acknowledging this response is the first step toward recovery and empowerment. 37% of people avoid checking their bank account due to fear and stress. I know a couple of people like that. 58% of Americans say thinking about their finances make them feel very overwhelmed. And financial stress can lead to decision paralysis, the inability to act due to overactivation of the brain's amygdala. That's when we're we just don't want to do anything. I don't want to think about it. It's not real. It's not happening.
Yeah. So this is very much something that when you freeze, kind of stay frozen. So it does become sort of a vicious cycle. And I did say someone say that they aren't seeing anything in the chat. That is because people are chatting directly to hosts and panelists. Perfectly okay. So I want to say we noticed that pretty much everyone has responded to the poll and they have experienced one of these 4 rough emotions. We've also got people who have mentioned, spending due to FOMO, spending due to grief, spending to self-soothe, or stressing about not preparing for things but still wanting to do fun things. So I want you to know that if you are experiencing this, it is okay. You are not alone. These are really common emotions to feel, and there are people who care, and there are resources that are available to you. That being said, there's also steps that you can take, and one of those is budgeting. So Tiffany, how do I get started on a budget?
My favorite topic. I'm kind of a nerd with the budgeting. So first, you want to identify the important stuff. What matters the most to you? Especially going back and looking at your statements, taking a look. Maybe there's something you haven't really noticed that you do often spend on. That is important because budget is not to be restrictive. It's only to give you guidance on how to spend your money. Next, what you want to do is decide your wants versus needs. Do I really need Starbucks every morning before I go? Is this something that I can cut back on? So it really just depends. You really want to differentiate your wants versus your needs. Is it truly necessary? And lastly, what you would want to do is know that there is resources available like GreenPath. We offer several one-on-one individual tools so that you could call one of our counselors and they'll be able to walk you through that if you feel like it's too intimidating to do on your own.
Absolutely. And another thing too, I'm putting into the chat both our budgeting worksheet as well as a recording to one of our recent webinars that just went on in the past month or so here, which was all about building your monthly spending plan. So I want you to know there are always kinds of resources. And I do see someone saying they use the word spending plan rather than budgeting to really get around that feeling of restriction, because really a budget is just a plan to help you to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Ooh, I'm going to save that question in the chat here for at the end. But I also want us to talk a bit about how we can reduce some of that financial stress. Because yes, having a plan in place, like tracking your expenses, budgeting, that helps a lot. But I also want to talk about ways that we can make financial stress manageable for us. So the first I really recommend is prioritizing time. So do you have specific times that you're addressing your financial situation? Next up, who's on your team? What loved ones are you getting involved? And from there, know when it's time to seek outside help. We very much have an idea, a lot of us, that we can do all of this alone. And while we might be able to, we don't have to. So let's talk a little bit about prioritizing time to talk about finances. So we all should be setting aside time to go to the dentist or to the doctor for our wellness checkups. Think of this as a financial wellness checkup, right? It should be on a regular frequency, and that's going to be individualized to what works best for you. For some of you, you may want to check in on your finances weekly. For others of you, it might be monthly. Whatever is going to work best for you is the right frequency. I will say once a month can be very manageable, but just make sure that it's at a repetitive cadence that works for you. Make sure at this financial wellness checkup, you're reviewing your budget, noting any irregular financial events that are coming up, and make adjustments as necessary. We have lots of webinars available on this topic as far as how to prepare for some of those irregular expenses, like our sinking funds webinar. Ooh, what about daily? Can you check on your finances daily? You sure can. So I would also recommend that you tie in this financial wellness checkup with a pleasant activity. So I know families who they go out to breakfast together, they look over their budget, make sure it's good, and then they get the chocolate chip pancakes, right? Just do something that's going to make it really pleasant. And I see someone who does it weekly in the mornings when they can just focus on this, and it actually helped them catch scammers sooner. That's wonderful. I'm so glad. Fraud is such a hot topic right now, and I am so glad that you're doing that on a weekly basis. So we also talked about involving loved ones. Yes, you can go through this journey alone, but you don't have to, and I would not even recommend that you do it alone because your loved ones want you to succeed. They want you to do well. So having an accountability buddy can increase your chances of success. My husband was my accountability buddy through our savings for a house. He was the one who reminded me, yes, we can absolutely go out to eat, but here's what we're saying no to if we say yes to that. Tiffany, I'm guessing your husband was also your accountability buddy through your journey?
Oh yeah, he definitely was. In the beginning, before I met him, it was me and another friend that we did the journey. And then after meeting him, we were each other's accountability partner. But for sure, I did have someone in my corner.
Absolutely. So you do not have to do this alone. And I will say, partners, relatives, other loved ones, these are all amazing resources. And this can also be an excellent way to involve kids in building financial habits. I have a colleague who they have a deal with their kids, if the electricity bill is under $150 each month, they get to go out to Dairy Queen that weekend. So the kids have become very good turning the lights off when necessary. So it's a really great opportunity to involve all the loved ones. So next up too is, when do you seek outside help? It's okay if you're feeling overwhelmed and there's a lot going on right now. Like I said, you don't have to do this alone. So, Tiffany, when do I know that I should go and seek outside help?
When you don't know where to start, when you really don't know how to get it done, when you've never done a budget before, that's the first step. The next one is when it gets too overwhelming. Maybe you've tried it and you just can't really wrap your head around what the next step is. That's a good time to seek out for outside help. And then lastly, when it impacts other things, maybe it's impacting your relationships, maybe you're having more arguments with your spouse or partner, or it's, having to tell your kids no, and you're feeling really overwhelmed about everything that's going on. That's just the perfect time to reach out for some help.
Definitely. So speaking of to seek outside help, one of the resources that is available to you, I know I've said this a lot in our webinar today, we do have the resource of GreenPath. We are more than happy to take a look at your budget as well as your financial situation, what your top goals are, what your priorities are, and creating a plan together to reach those. So that being said, let's talk about how we can have some of these hard conversations around money. So chances are, if you are embarking on a financial wellness journey, you are about to have some hard conversations. There may be loved ones who you have previously said yes to various expensive things. There may be upcoming events where you may have to make adjustments. You may be someone who sends money to someone, and maybe that's no longer feasible with your goals. So some things that we're going to discuss here is the fact that one, no is a complete sentence. We're also going to talk about how you can have some of those conversations ahead of time, because trust us, proactivity always wins over reactivity. And we're also going to talk about focusing in on your why. So first things first, like I mentioned, no is a complete sentence. If you are currently alone in a relatively soundproof area, I give you complete permission right now to say no. You can say it loud, you can say it soft, whatever works. You can just say it to yourself. It is okay to say no. You are not required to sacrifice your financial dreams for others. I had to say no a lot during my financial wellness journey. And oftentimes that was saying no to my parents. They live pretty far across the country, and I had to say no quite a few times to a potential visit or a flight to see them. That being said, doesn't always have to stop at no. Well, it is a complete sentence. You have all heard that the improv acting rule is yes and we're going to show you the rule of no, however. So Tiffany, you were a big proponent of this rule when we were planning out this webinar. So why don't you speak a little bit to no, however?
No, however, when you say no to something, but you're saying yes to something else, and this can look like time. Maybe you don't have money to actually do a lot of, a great example for me was a baby shower. I didn't have the money to really pour into the baby shower, but I had time. I had time to help my friend plan, get invitations out, and be able to make sure it was a successful day for her. Another instance is effort. If you have a talent like me, I like to crochet. So I have plenty of yarn that I've gotten for Christmas and birthdays that I'm able to create something. It's also time, because it takes time to create it, and effort. So yeah, you might not be able to do something with, money, but you're able to give them time and effort. What skills do you have that you express, to use to express love? Definitely would hone into those resources.
Absolutely. And remember that this is not necessarily a permanent change, right? For now, we can offer time, we can offer effort, and we can offer love. So we're going to talk too about having some of these hard conversations ahead of time. So Tiffany, when did you usually know that you were going to have a hard conversation with someone?
Pretty maybe a month, but I'm a planner, so a month or two prior, when I was doing my budget, kind of looking out for the next couple of months, getting ahead of difficult conversations. Another big one, because we all know when Christmas comes around and people's birthdays, that was something I was able to plan for right before and give them a heads up. So, I had to set aside some time as soon as I know that I wasn't going to be able to probably give them extravagant gifts like I was doing the years prior. This one Christmas, what we did is we decided to do a Secret Santa amongst the family members versus everybody giving each other gifts. The next thing that I was able to explain to them was leading with my why. Keeping them informed on why we were doing this, explaining to them what the goals were for me and my husband. We were saving for a house, so we weren't able to go as extravagant as we were doing before because we had goals. And then lastly, we got our loved ones involved in what our, the financial goal was for us. And some of them wanted to learn what we were doing. They wanted to get on track with things too. And it was very helpful to be open and honest with them, especially ahead of time.
Absolutely. And somebody in the chat here has said, as you get older, time or help is much more important and appreciated than gifts or stuff.
Absolutely.
You are 100% correct. And definitely, I have had these conversations as well. And I want you to know you are going to get through it, and it is appreciated to have that time and help, or even that experience. We're finding that those material possessions are not always the things that people remember at the end of the day. So Tiffany talked too a little bit about her why. So some questions that we want you to ask yourself as you're remembering that why, right? It can be really hard to lose sight of it because it can feel sometimes like a sacrifice, right? And I think it's really important that we're careful about the words that we use, especially to ourselves, right? And yes, framing it as a sacrifice can feel really daunting. But remember, these are choices that you are making to have that financial freedom going forward. So Tiffany, what were those 3 questions that you kept coming back to throughout your journey?
Yeah, I had to think about what inspired me initially to start this change. I really had to think about what was my end goal at the end. How far have I come? Because I was making progress and I had to kind of pause and think about how far have I come, and do I want to blow it all away now, or do I want to keep going? I can almost see the finish line. And my last question I would ask myself is, what does achieving this mean? Because all of this sounds like it's forever, but it's really just temporary. It was a couple years in my life that I had to go through some hardships and a lot of saying no to be able to live the life I'm able to live today. And it's not always perfect. The journey wasn't perfect either, but those were the main questions that me and my husband would ask ourselves anytime we were tempted to go for a steak dinner.
Absolutely. These are questions that I asked myself as well, because trust me, when we were going through that house search in the highly competitive market during 2023, it became really disheartening, and it was very easy to fall into that anxiety and stress hole. And so remembering that, we wanted this because we wanted to be able to potentially grow our family and, have space and be able to host our loved ones and maybe not hear the neighbors yelling next door. There were a lot of things, and it's really important to come back to these questions of why, because you are doing this for a reason, and it is to make things better in the long run. So I also want to talk a little bit too about ways that you can improve your money relationship. So some of the things that we are going to talk about specifically in this portion is how you can visualize your goals, how you can keep it simple, and how you can celebrate your wins. So these are 3 really big things on that financial wellness journey, because you've built those good habits, you've had those tough conversations. It's time now to really improve that relationship and keep it good. Because trust me, your relationship with your money is just like your relationship with loved ones. It requires time, attention, and effort. Let's talk a bit about visualizing goals. So I am a person who is really big on a vision board. I sit down every single December. I figure out what are my big goals for the next year. I make a whole collage, turn the living room into a bit of a mess. And that is something that I put somewhere where I can see it every single day. So I remember exactly why I'm working so hard and what I am working toward. So Tiffany, what did you do?
My husband and I, we had this printout of a house. I wish I had a picture, but I don't. I'm sorry. The roof part is what we were paying off debts that we had left. And then the house part, and it was divided in little bricks, and we would color it in every time we deposited some savings or if we paid off a debt. And it was just really cool to see that, colored in and filled in as the months went on. So it was kind of like a thermometer check-in type of printout. It was really, really cool.
We did try to find it. We did spend some time as we were preparing to try and find it. And we're so sorry that we don't have a picture of it to show you, but find some way of showing your progress to yourself. For you, maybe that's moving beads over from one jar to another for every $100 you pay off of debt. Whatever is going to work best for you. So a couple things as well. We did talk about keeping it simple, and a lot of you indicated that freeze response was definitely something that you had experienced. 25% of you who responded to that poll said you had frozen in response to your financial situation. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can unfreeze or thaw out. So I would recommend make it boring, right? What happens typically when we're freezing is that we build this up into being this gigantic monster for ourselves, right? We don't check the bank account. So then we know that the account's getting further overdrafted. So we choose not to look at it again. And then it just kind of gets further and further and further. And that panic really builds up. So avoiding those finances, it often just can build that fear and anxiety. So I would really recommend take that power away from it. So keep that regular check-in on your finances as a commitment to yourself. I had some people who had mentioned they've been doing that weekly or daily, whatever it takes for you to make this kind of a non-issue for yourself, however frequently that is for you, go ahead and do that. I give you permission to take the power away from the fear. I would also really recommend that you check those statements regularly. Most places are paperless now, but for some of us, it can really work to get those statements mailed out to you on that monthly basis. Give them a look, make sure you know exactly what's going on. And trust me, the more that you interact with this information, the less you might need that statement because you'll know exactly what's going to go on there. So be that, maybe you do need to enroll in that paperless copy so you get it emailed to yourself. Whatever is going to be easiest for you is what we recommend. And then find ways to simplify. Maybe you can have a dashboard with everything in one go. If you are dealing with a lot of unsecured debt right now, GreenPath does have options for dealing with that to simplify it and make it easier for you. So I really recommend giving us a call. Tiffany, what were some of the things you did to simplify during your journey?
Pen and paper was easiest for us. We simplified. After the initial, when we talked about in the beginning of taking a look at your finances, because in order to create a budget, you need to see what you've been spending on, then do that wants versus needs kind of thing. So once we kind of sat down, broke that down, with time, it got easier. Like you were saying, JJ, after some time of doing it over and over again, we didn't have to check in as much. It was just it was just simple and easy, sticking to a routine, keeping it a schedule. Try not to look at it every day. We just set aside a schedule, 15 minutes. It didn't have to be much because otherwise it would get really overwhelming. So we did the big overwhelming the one time and then broke it down into steps afterwards.
Yes, and I do want to validate that it can be really scary to take that first initial step. And I really want to honor all of your courage because just being at this webinar is already a step to taking that journey and unfreezing and addressing your financial concerns. So we also did some stuff on my side to simplify during our financial wellness journey. A big part of that was automation. So I knew that if I had that money in my checking account, it was getting spent. I am a pro spender. I'm really good at spending money, not quite as good at saving it. So what we did was we actually automated and direct deposited into our savings account. And if you are a member or a customer of a financial institution, they can help you get started on that as well. There are always options to automate. There's tons of new stuff. Maybe for you, simplifying is using an app. There are so many free apps out there for budgeting. I've used them before. Maybe you do, like Tiffany did, pen and paper. Tiffany has a really cool simplification method that she does for her budgeting. So I'm sure some of you have heard of the envelope method, right? You'll see the influencers either on Instagram or TikTok, they're stuffing their envelopes for the month ahead. That didn't quite work for Tiffany, but she has a really cool method that she does for her budgeting. So Tiffany, do you want to talk about your semi-envelope method or your digital envelope?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did start out with the physical envelope method where every week that we got paid, we went and took out the cash and put it in different envelopes. And it was just starting to get a little bit overwhelming. And so we decided we wanted to kind of do that more digitally. So we had visited our local credit union and opened up extra accounts. So I have 3 accounts with debit cards that I use. One is my bills that I use for all the automated stuff that's going to come out naturally that I don't have to pay attention to. And then I have my spending allocation. And then I have my third one, which is for gas and groceries. That way, when all the automated bills come out, I'm not worried if I'm overspending or overextending myself because I have an actual debit card just for spending. And once that money is done, it's done. I don't have any more. I don't have to worry about overdrafting our accounts. So it has been really, really easy for us to be able to manage it that way. And the good thing about my credit union is they offered it to open your accounts was free. You didn't have to have a minimum balance. So that was great. So if you have a credit union, you might want to check that out if you think that would work for you. I definitely recommend it.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about, how to keep things good, how to make things better. But the fact of the matter is life is gonna life. Setbacks are normal. So during the course of my financial wellness journey to buy my first home, as we were saving, it's pretty much right at the beginning, one of my cats had a physical accident and had to go into the emergency vet for an emergency surgery. And if you have pets or you yourself have been to the doctor, you understand that medical bills are not cheap. That one nearly wiped out our entire house savings. I'm not going to lie to you. And I want you to know setbacks are going to be a normal part of your financial wellness journey. So I want you to, when that happens, because it probably will happen, it's more of a when, not if, give yourself grace, allow yourself to step back, reflect on if there was anything you might have been able to do differently without judgment. And then from there, persevere. So Tiffany, what were did you have any setbacks on your journey?
Oh yeah. Some of them were self-induced, like just overspending, because you just don't change overnight your habits. Learning to not continuously do that and emotions are like we're talking about this entire webinar is really tied into it. There were times that maybe there was something disappointing or upsetting that happened that I would go, and for me, food is comfort, and that's what I would do. There was 1 year between that 2018, 2022, where I had a new medical diagnosis, where I had to really put a pause on my goals for that whole year to try to get those things back and up and running. Thankfully, I am healthy and everything's great now, but it was definitely discouraging because I kind of wanted to keep pushing it, that medical diagnosis, kind of keep pushing it away because I was so close to the finish line. So absolutely, it happens, but having people in your corner, and remembering your why was really, really helpful for me to keep going.
Definitely. Now, while you may experience setbacks, you're also going to experience some wins. I guarantee it. If you are undertaking a financial wellness journey, you are going to experience some wins. So Tiffany's going to talk to you a little bit about some ways that you can celebrate those wins and keep yourself on that good track.
Yes. For me personally, I like sweet treats. So every time we had a big win where we saved about 1,000, every time we reached that milestone, we would go out and get a cupcake or get some sweet treats like some ice cream. Make it your own, whatever you enjoy. Maybe you want to do a movie night, but definitely celebrate it. It keeps you going. If you just don't go crazy and overboard and go have a steak dinner if you can't afford it yet, or if you could, but you really haven't gotten to the big finish line. But I would, is it possible to have the slides? So yeah, I would, that's something that we did, and we enjoyed doing the little sweet treats every time, and it was something to look forward to. I was always excited to try different flavors. We had a little bakery shop, so that was my go-to.
Thank you. So we've talked a lot about ways that you can find yourself in a more emotionally healthy relationship with your money. And I did want to bring up again that GreenPath does provide a variety of services, all designed to help our clients understand and work towards that goal of financial wellness. Now, all of our basic financial assessment conversations are free and confidential. So I like to repeat that part. All of our basic financial assessment conversations are free and confidential. So you and those you serve can take advantage of a free financial assessment with a GreenPath financial wellness expert. We can discuss your spending plan, review your credit report, discuss your housing concerns or different student loan options, and we specialize in helping people explore options for dealing with debt. So we are also going to provide a couple resources for you after today's webinar. And some of those that we're going to send out are going to be our budgeting worksheet, our aligning priorities workbook, and we also have that spending tracker. So we'll share these with all registrants for the webinar, or you can find them on the my.greenpath.com website. And I'm going to go ahead and put that website on into the chat, so you can go ahead and click that directly if you'd like to. There's lots of stuff on there. We do have that real stories if you want to connect and see kind of what the experience has been with other people who have worked with GreenPath. And there's a QR code as well. We also do have several digital online courses. So please check out GreenPath's Learning Lab Plus by scanning the QR code on the screen right now. Making the most of your money might be a great place to start. And this is also a free resource to check out. And I'm going to go ahead and put those links here into the chat for everyone as well, so you can check out our Learning Lab Plus. And we also have some other courses that might be relevant to our topic today. such as our Aligning Priorities digital course. This might help you decide which expenses are the most important to be able to get on track with a budget. So Tiffany talked about that process of exploring what your wants and needs are in your budget. No worries, because we have a full-on course just designed for you to be able to do that. And then we also have some recorded and upcoming webinars for you as well. So one of those that we mentioned are Building Your Monthly Spending Plan webinar. This took place last month with my colleagues Stephanie and Amber. I would highly recommend scan that QR code, see what they have to say. They go really in depth on how you can create a budget that makes your money work for you. And then we do have an upcoming live webinar that if you'd like to attend it, coming up next month. And that, I went a little too far, and that is our tips for successful back to school planning. So I highly recommend you check all of these out. And now we would actually love to hear from you. So we do have a couple questions in the chat. One of them was asking if there were any tips for those with ADHD. Yes, there are a lot. And so a lot of them really come back to that setting aside specific time. So prioritizing a specific time in your calendar. So if you use a single calendar app, putting aside a half hour to an hour every month, make it a recurring meeting with yourself that you don't miss. You can also check out some of those apps. There's lots of different strategies. Ultimately, it's really going to be what works best for you and being able to have that time commitment on there. We also had another person ask if we can share out these slides. So we will send out the recording of the webinar to everyone. We don't have the slides included, but we will have those budgeting worksheets, expense tracker, and aligning priorities workbook. I have a question about what free budgeting apps do you use? So the budgeting app that I used to use actually no longer exists, unfortunately, so I can't recommend it to you. But there are tons of free budget apps within the App Store and Play Store, so I would recommend searching those and finding one that best takes into account your goals. Great question for Tiffany here about your envelope system. How has the multiple accounts helped you make the envelope system work for you?
Not too bad. We kept it to just 3 separate accounts, and it's all in the same, it's the same app for the credit union. So it's really easy to track to see what's available in each account. The sad part about our debit cards is they, some banks let you like personalize them or have different colors. They were all the same colors. So me and my husband had to write with a Sharpie, like S for spending on a corner, B for bill. So we wouldn't use the wrong card. After a while, it got easier. I use the automated one. I just have my spending and my gas and groceries with me at all times.
Great. I like this question. Do we have tips for retired persons who are still dealing with outstanding debt? Yes, please call this number on the screen. That is 84. We will take a look at your individual situation and develop a plan that works within your budget and your means to reach your goals. So highly recommend giving us a call. On the website, most of the webinars are from old dates. Are they recorded? Yes, we record all of our webinars, and you can watch those from that my.greenpath.com website that's on the screen here. Are there fees for these services? So like I mentioned before, those basic financial assessment conversations with GreenPath, free and confidential. We would discuss any ongoing cost before you chose to continue forward or opt into anything. Can we provide some of the statistics we went over? Yes, we will be sending out the recording, so you'll be able to see that whole thing. What's the cost for the debt management plan? It depends a little on your individual situation, but remember that basic financial assessment conversation with GreenPath is free and confidential, so we would go over that with you individually as it pertains to your individual situation. This was great information and also a good reminder of practical ways to maintain control over my finances. Thank you so much. Do we have information on how best to deal with school loans? Yes, we do offer as part of our basic financial assessment. We will look at those student loans. How can we contact you on that student loans? You can go ahead and dial in to 844-218 situation and what options are available for you. I love this question. Do you have to have a minimum net worth to work with a financial counselor at GreenPath? All right, Tiffany, you know the answer to this. What's the answer?
No.
Nope. The only things that you need to call into GreenPath are a U.S. phone number and to be 18 and over. That's all we need to talk to you. And if you call us, we will help you take it from there. Thank you so much for all of these questions. I'm going to go ahead and see, do we have information for people who will be taking out student loans in 2 years as a way of planning ahead for college debt? That is definitely something we can talk about as far as what's going to work in your budget? What are your options? Give us a call. Oh, I love this question. Can I call to get assistance for my credit score to see about applying for a business loan? So one of the services that we offer at GreenPath is credit report reviews, and it is a soft pull of your credit, so it does not harm your score, but we can see exactly what's going on and what steps you might be able to take to improve it going forward. Ooh, does this service have a difference between debt consolidation and debt management? So GreenPath does not offer debt consolidation. We offer debt management plans. These are repayment plans with the goal of getting completely out of debt with all of your debts paid in full within 3 to 5 years. So that is what we offer here at GreenPath. Oh, thank you so much, everyone, for the kind words. Is GreenPath a fiduciary? We are a nonprofit credit counseling agency. Great question. Thank you so much. I'm keeping an eye on the chat here for any other questions that come in. Do credit cards get closed to help with debt management? So typically throughout the process of a debt management plan, when a card is enrolled, the creditor will close that. And that's something that we will talk with you individually about if this is a good fit for you and how it will impact your personal credit situation. So I highly recommend that you call in. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. If you do have to drop, no worries whatsoever. And I hope that you have a wonderful day.
Thank everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's see. I'm keeping an eye on the chat here for you, Tiffany.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's see. Goodness, they're rolling in fast. Thank you all so much. It was so
Yes.
wonderful to sit down with you. All right, and keep an eye on your inbox as well. We will be sending out all of those resources as well as the recording to this webinar once it's ready. Oh, I think I saw one come in. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to hang on here for a few more minutes, but it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming through. If you do have your hand raised, lines are muted to cut down on background noise for our recording, so please go ahead and make sure to put those questions in the chat. No worries if you signed in late. We always send the recording after so you can catch the whole thing. When will you receive the materials? So I would say within a day or so, typically. It does depend on how long the technology takes to process the recording, so it can vary a little bit, but it will be on the way. We always send that out. Great questions. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to hold on here for about 2 more minutes. And if we don't see any other questions, I'll go ahead and close out the webinar. And let me go ahead and put that last QR code. There we go, just in case anybody does need to scan that. Thank you again, Tiffany, for joining us for the webinar. I really appreciate it.
I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, how will the link come to your email? Great question. So it will come the same way that you received that registration link. We send it to the same email. It will, I believe, come with a title of webinar recording, emotionally healthy spending, and it will have all those worksheets and stuff attached right onto the email. So you'll be able to get there. And the link to the recording, I believe, is usually in Vimeo. Alrighty, it doesn't seem like we have any other questions. So I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have just an absolutely wonderful day. And please don't hesitate to register for the next webinar. We look forward to seeing you.
Everyone.
Bye now.